Welcome to Three Witches and a Druid podcast, a Canadian podcast about paganism in today's modern society. And now, Three Witches and a Druid podcast present Sencha.
Close your eyes, my blessed child. Sleep and dream of fairyland. Rest and know that you are loved. Till the morning comes again. Cares of the day, they melt away. You are cherished, come what may, in Druid's arms. In Druid's arms. Druid holds you in her arms. So rest your weary head. She will keep you safe from harm as you snuggle warm in bed. The cares of the day, they melt away. You are cherished, come what may, in Druid's arms. In Druid's arms. Close your eyes, my blessed child. Sleep and dream of fairyland. Rest and know that you are loved. Till the morning comes again. The cares of the day, they melt away. You are cherished, come what may, in Druid's arms. In Druid's arms. In Druid's arms. In Druid's arms.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Three Witches and a Druid, where we sit around the coffee table and talk about being witches in the new century, because we just had a conversation at work today about something that happened in the last century, and that was fun. I started being a witch in the last century.
Yeah, me too.
And this time we're having some beautiful cherry basil mead from Tanner Brewery in Chester, Nova Scotia. I am Margot.
And I am Maeve. Gwen.
And I'm Brian. So today's episode is a listener suggestion, and we're talking about if we had the opportunity to talk to our younger selves as they were just getting into paganism, what advice would we give to them, being that we're old and frail and decrepit at this point? What would we tell them as a young pagan to look for, to investigate, to research, to consider, blah, 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 blah?
I don't know if it would be advice as much as it would be encouragement to say you are going to find your people.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because I have, spent a lot of time, especially going through periods of disability as well, and being very isolated from people my own age, that learning how to socialize was a little bit difficult for me, I think, in a way. Finding my people and how we're all a little kooky in our own ways, I think is part of the reason why we're a little more accepting and understanding of other kooky people. So knowing that I would find my tribe, I think, knowing that I'm not going to be treading water by myself forever.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point, and something I was going to mention is that the pagan path can feel very lonely at first, because you feel, oh, I'm all by myself. No one else would ever think of doing it. And then you realize, oh, wait, no, I'm far from alone.
Same with my great story of the big U.S. aircraft carrier that was in the harbor in the last century.
At the turn of the century.
Yes, as all, these American servicemen would come in, 2 or 3 of them looking around, little misters going, oh my God, this is great. Look at all this stuff. We're the only ones on the ship. We have no one else to talk to. And it's like a ship of 6,000 people. They would leave. 20 minutes later, 2 or 3 more fellas would come in. Oh my God, this is great. This is amazing. It's like you really have to put up a notice on a bulletin board somewhere and,
Did you
start
tell them
a
that?
I did.
Say, because you guys are coming in here. There's been 20 of you in here.
Yeah. So there's far more of you on that ship than you realize. Yeah.
Well, you have a similar story with the festivals where people would come from New Brunswick.
The
say,
Moncton
"I'm the only
crowd,
one."
all these people, 9 people from Moncton. I'm the only one. No, you're not. There's 9 of you.
Yeah.
That was the best, very first festival. That was the best story.
Yeah. So looking back, I'd probably tell my earlier self, it's okay to label things. It's perfectly okay. And don't listen to the people who say, you can't label me. Because then you spend a lot of time wasting your time reading books that are not under your label. And then you're like, oh, this is not what I'm looking for. And then you finally eventually find your spot in the bookshelf at Little Mysteries. And you're like, this is the books I want to read. And I'm going to read these books because they speak to me. And not look at the books across the room because they do not speak to me. That was a big thing in that the piece of advice of don't label yourself, just branch out. I wouldn't say it was damaging. Man, it was a pain in the arse for a really long time.
Means you just took the long road there.
Yeah, pretty much. And the road to where I wanted to go was very clear for a very long time. And I just kept avoiding it because I wanted to see what other stuff was. And now, as an older pagan, I'm like, I don't care about any of that stuff. I only care about this thing. Now, that, of course, doesn't apply to everyone. Lots of people are very eclectic and like a wide variety of things, but it's okay to only like one thing too.
And also to not get so riled up over labels or over words.
So you said, Gwen, you had quite a lot.
Well, it's a big thing. I don't come off so well, so I got to really be careful how I share this. I came into paganism. I found this book. Maeve and I found the same book several years apart and half a country apart, but we found the same book.
Sybil Lee, Complete Art of Witchcraft.
Complete Art of Witchcraft. And it was broken up chapter by chapter of tenets of faith. And I remember reading through it and going, this is me, this is me, this is me. And I had been attending a church, a very, very liberal, open, non-creedal church, social outreach and all that sort of thing. But it was the closest thing. You know, you often hear pagans say, well, I couldn't go to church, I couldn't do this. I was hungering for a spiritual religious context, and it was the closest thing that I could find. I found that. I stopped going to church right away. When I moved here to Halifax, I went to the Universalist Unitarian, which is this interfaith, wonderful, welcoming place. But it was the religion that drew me. And shortly after that, we moved to a very rural place, and we were homesteading, and we lived there for several years in various contexts before we moved to Nova Scotia. All along that time, the very few people that I met, and there's no internet, we're talking first off, we were homesteading, but we didn't get internet really until we arrived here and joined the 21st century. But I was like, I'm here for the religion, the relationship to deity and divinity. I'm not interested in magic. I realize how pretentious and condescending that sounds. And I could tell myself, if I could go back and tell that person, magic is an expression of our divine state, our spiritual path. It is a partnership with deity and the plants and animals and the environment we're in. I had maybe a sort of top-down, not even grimoire, but maybe an idea of, the early magical societies at the turn of the previous century.
Like Crowley and things like
maybe
that,
where it was about control and power over. If I had known then that I would develop a magical practice that was hopefully honoring my place and the place of the other beings in this that we share the planet with, and I wouldn't feel like I'm playing catch up for so long. Sometimes you think, oh man, why did if I had been working all along in that magical way with the world that I exist in, how much stronger would my connection with divinity, deity be? That's what I would tell myself, but this is what it is. And so, the last 15 years or so I have been, but I wasted 15 years. I'll reframe. I didn't waste. I focused on ritual and offerings and, relationship with deity over developing a magical practice. And I probably should have started that at the same time. It's been very helpful and healing and strengthened my connections, I think, with deity and with my place in the world.
I think it would depend on how far back, because I was thinking when you said, what would we tell our younger selves? I'm not completely sure what I'd tell my younger self, because even some of the things that made me go, I look back and go, oh God, but it taught me some very important lessons that I wouldn't want to be without.
Right.
Very important lessons I wouldn't want to be without. I know I was always a seeker. Even as a little kid, I was seeking a spiritual connection. And yes, I grew up in a, semi-Christian house. We weren't serious, but it was a Christian. I guess we would have put Christian on our census and whatnot. I might have told my really young self, like single digit self, to keep putting your ear down on the earth, on the ground, and listening to what's going on, even through your teen years, maybe. But then you get in those hedonist years. I went through some really big 18 to,
And they're important.
The hedonist years were important, but I tried synagogues and different churches and whatever when I finally moved into Metro when I was 18, because I was seeking, because I do remember, of course, at 8 years old, you weren't allowed to have a candle in your room. I remember taking a toilet paper roll, a white toilet paper roll, and drawing a picture of a candle on the toilet paper roll and sitting it next to my bed or wherever so that I could have a candle to pray at when I was little. I remember doing that. And I suppose that's what I saw in church. You had the candle. What would I tell myself? Probably, when you find it, believe it. Because Complete Art of Witchcraft, I'm like 21 years old and going, no. As I'm reading it, this is me, this can't be. Witches worship the devil, and on and on. And for a long time, I just thought I might have been out of my mind, because everyone looked at me and went, what are you talking about? And I was never one to be talked out of something, I didn't care if people thought it was weird. But maybe I would say, believe it. Believe it. And, and it took a while to find others, and to get more into it. And there was no books really to be had or anything back then.
No internet.
No internet. I had one book. that what a complete art of which I found accidentally at the St. Mary's Library. And I bought myself like one book, and I think it would have been just to believe it. Don't doubt it. I mean, there'd be a few little things, but on the whole, no. There would be advice that I would give, but wouldn't really have much to do with paganism. So I got lots of advice that way. But
and that's the other thing. Like we're not
goes.
talking about buy stocks in Microsoft.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
For me, again, part of it would be you have survived everything to this point. You will continue to survive everything in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my advice to my pagan self would be believe it when you see it, and just look into it more on your own. Because I will admit it, not that I can't, ad lib or don't feel it all around me, but I've always been a researcher. I always like to read and I like to research things. I would have told myself a little bit, just go with the flow a bit more in the first, 2, 3, 4 years. Because I sort of was on my own and I knew very little about what to do, but I was trying to do it.
Right.
But it would have been, just believe it and keep going and everything. A little bit, you'll find your people. You'll find your people. And I don't know, maybe my people aren't happy I found them.
I don't think anyone exactly is complaining. That they
There are one or two people who complain.
Yeah, they don't matter.
Yeah, they don't matter. Just believe it when you find it. I think that would be it.
That'd be a piece of advice. As soon as you find it at a festival, go.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
hesitate.
Just
go.
Don't worry if you don't know anybody there.
You will, but at the end,
Yes.
You'll have
Yeah.
you'll be making lifelong friends by the end of it all.
And I think that is actually probably the number one piece of advice, because we learned about APEG the year before we went, and we held off going because we didn't know anyone, and I regret that. It just means 1 year I didn't get to go.
Yeah.
If you even if you showed up by yourself, there's lots of people be
Because
there.
people showed up with tarps and blocks of cheese, and they worked out. They made out
Jars
just
of peanut butter.
They are still walking amongst us today.
Yeah.
It's good. You'll have a great time.
Yeah.
It's good. I can't wait. It's gonna be at least 2 festivals. I'll probably get to a rainbow too. I got like 3 festivals already
It's gonna
planned
be
for
a banner
summer.
year.
Gotta be
You're going to come to our festival, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm doing
Yeah.
your opening ritual.
Yes, that
Yes,
would help.
I'm there.
Well, I was going to ask, I'll ask you on recording, is that way you feel pressured to do it? You want to do the closing too?
No.
No, but you said you wanted to do like the opening and closing, that way you could connect them.
No. You're misunderstanding that
She
conversation.
just said no on the radio.
No, I have learned over the years. Now that's not true. I've done several women's rituals on the Friday
We've done a
night.
closing, you mean, Marco.
Yes, and I've done them all: main rituals, opening rituals, closing rituals, and I've done
Not
more
all
than
at
I
the
can
same
tell.
ritual. At
No.
the same.
No,
Festival.
over the
Festival.
years.
But
Over the
yes,
years.
yeah.
I have done more than one ritual at a festival before.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have learned that I really like to do the opening, and then I can relax for the rest of the weekend.
Well, that's fair. And you mentioned that before.
Yeah, and
That's
I might do a women's. I have a fantastic ritual idea. Actually, I've had the idea already.
for a women's ritual.
No, for the opening. I've
Oh, okay.
had
So you're
an
gonna do
idea.
that for us, right?
Gwen
would-
and I had a conversation last week and came up with a great idea for a women's ritual. Probably not this year.
I was gonna say, like,
Yeah, probably not this year. It's going to take a little bit more.
More, but it will have to be
Yep.
taking place at exactly the right light of dusk. It can't be too dark, but the sun has to be setting a little.
That's okay. We can do that. We can. arrange
That's
it.
when my ritual.
we
has to
have
take
the
place.
power, being
We
that we're the only
have
ones
the
really doing
power.
anything. Yeah.
You want me to do closing ritual too?
No. Well, I thought like if you could connect the two, like you do half the opening ritual and then the other half is the closing ritual.
Oh no, there's an idea.
Well, that's how.
Oh, now I'm having another idea is going through my head.
I convinced her.
I have another idea because it could be what you came in with and how your mind is opened up this weekend.
There you
And
go.
what you see now.
You're seeing it.
Well, I got the idea now.
This is my magic.
But you see, I don't even have a rubber arm. I have an overcooked spaghetti arm. When it comes to pulling a ritual together or
So
anything.
that's
let's
another
go.
thing is not only go to the first ritual you hear, the first festival. You
Festival.
do ritual. I don't like ritual. It is not for me, but I wish I had started earlier and got better at it because Oh, good. I'm gonna say this. I kind of like it now a little bit.
I love it.
I like creating it, but I don't necessarily like doing it. If I can write it and create it and have
And
other
be the
people do
director?
it, yes, that's what I would like.
Oh,
to do.
no, I
But
I
there's
love it.
so many people you speak to, like at meet and greets. It's like, oh, I didn't want to go because I didn't know anyone, and I didn't feel I knew how the ritual ran. Just go.
You'll
just go
learn.
and watch and learn. And every ritual is different.
participate.
I mean, the great thing about ritual as well is you can go and observe and participate, and you don't necessarily have to be that involved. Like,
No,
you
you
know,
can just watch. And
nobody is going to demand that you do something that you're uncomfortable doing.
and understand that everything you do is a form of ritual. For me, like shaving in the morning to me is a ritual. The sambal is a ritual.
Oh, it is,
Oh, it is,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And some people, a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah.
Ritual for everybody is different, and every ritual is going to be different. You will never experience the same ritual twice. And unlike a more organized, when I say more organized religion, a more organized religion where every Sunday you go, it's the same. That's not how it works. Every one of them is different. Depends on who's doing it, and everybody can do it.
And then, again, back to ritual. Don't be afraid to do them on your own.
Nope.
If you're going to start, don't be afraid. Oh, I'd like to do a public ritual, but I'm not quite sure, or I have an idea for a public ritual. My advice is, well, if you have a great idea, try to talk to someone in your community.
Yeah.
Because if somebody said, I have an idea, but I'm not sure, I will happily help you.
Yeah.
I won't do it for you if you don't, if you want me to participate, okay.
Yeah.
But I will help you with the
And not
the
every ritual,
logistics.
like a public ritual, doesn't have to be put up posters and invite 4,000 of your closest friends. It could be just invite a few friends over, do your thing,
Yeah.
and you're good.
That's right. And don't be
so many people are afraid, even as a solitary. I used to hear quite frequently, well, I'm afraid I might call the quarters in the wrong order. And my response to that was always, it's okay. The goddess, she understands.
I like that.
She knows what the intent in your heart and your soul is.
And that's the important part. And a lot of people don't understand that. It's not about perfection. It's
and getting
intent.
caught up in the
intent.
cerebralness.
For the
of it
longest
all.
time, the Grove uses Gaelic in our ritual. For the longest time, we could never pronounce the word the correctly. Like Cam Hasivi, we pronounced that wrong for so long, and I'm sure I just pronounced it incorrectly now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the intent and the meaning behind what we're trying to say is what matters.
Then the interesting thing too is that you may have something in mind for your ritual and the intent, but sometimes the energy and what's going on turns it into something else. And I've never been upset at that because obviously it's turning it into what it should be,
What it needed to be.
Or I wasn't taking into account where the moon was. Is it in Aquarius? Is it in Cancer? Is it this? Or what the people there were going to feel? But they all turned out, that'll still turn out really great because it'll really be meaningful to people. And by the same token, if you don't want to do one, don't feel guilty. You don't either,
That's right. It is okay just to show up and experience.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely okay. But no, thanks, Brian. Put me on the spot on the air.
We'll see if my magic works in a few months.
Oh no, now I got the rituals flowing through my head right now. And it's not even between 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning. That's when I get my best ideas for ritual, between 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning. They come to me. It's the craziest thing. It's been like that. I get my best ideas.
One thing you don't have to mention too much, workshops. Go to workshops.
Oh,
it's
yes.
not
Absolutely.
do it. Just do it. You don't have to do anything. You literally sit there and listen.
Well, one of the things about festivals is it's a place to learn. It's a workshop weekend. It's like going to school for the weekend, to do all kinds of learning. And even if I did this twice, I can think of. There was a topic I didn't know a bucket about, but I wanted to start a discussion so that I could hear other people who knew more about it talking.
Right.
So that was the workshop, a discussion on, an exchange, because there was things I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And I'm pushy though.
Yeah. That's okay.
I'm pushy, and I'm enough of an exhibitionist that I love being in the middle of a circle having fun,
Nice.
And doing that. That's just, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I just enjoy it. Like, I'm better and I'm wonderful. Well, I am wonderful. But, the exhibition part of like, let's get everybody to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
And experience something new.
I think something people have learned from like our meet and greets here in Nova Scotia is when you arrive, you automatically just become accepted into the group. No questions asked.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you from that point on, and you're now part of the community. So say hi to people. Say hello. Don't be shy. Go to workshops. Go to rituals. Hold a ritual. Go to events. Go to festivals. Just do it. We need that gif of what's his name going, just do it.
Isn't that or the Nike swipe?
Yeah, the
Just
Nike
do it.
swipe. But it's the better. What's his name?
I don't know.
He's not important anymore. He
It
used to
sounded
be.
like Mr. T when you did that,
No,
but I don't think that's who you
he
meant.
was like the first Transformer movie. Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, and he goes like he has this song where it's just do it, and he's like flexing. And you're not watching, but I'm trying to do the motion.
Did you know what? When you say just do it, and we talk about the Nike stripe, what we need is a image of Nike with just do it.
Yes.
An image of the goddess Nike,
the actual
goddess of victory. Yeah, just do it. Not the Nike stripe, the actual, deity that Nike is named after.
That's fair.
Just do it.
Just do it.
T-shirt fundraiser idea.
Oh yeah, with the goddess and the Nike won't have an issue with that whatsoever.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No, we have a picture of Nike and just do it. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been a great conversation. Just do it, everybody. It's going to be good. You can do it. And thank you very much to our editor. Yay, Krista.
Yay, Krista.
Yay, Krista. And to our Patreons, we're very, very grateful.
3 Witches and a Druid podcast would like to take a moment to shout out to our amazing Patreon supporters from all around the world. Without your generous contributions, we could not bring you this magical content, and we thank you once again for listening.
And if you have any comments or suggestions for us, you can certainly get a hold of us at our Facebook page. And we're always looking for new suggestions and things that, to talk about. That's always wonderful. And until next time, everybody, merry meet.
Merry part.
And merry meet again.
Blessed be.
This has been 3 Witches and a Druid podcast. Thanks for listening.